Previously on the Skip and Josh podcast.
So I'm going to let you in on a little secret.
Yeah.
I don't actually watch football.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Football to me is something that I turn on when I want to take a nap.
Oh my God.
Because there's nothing better on a Sunday afternoon. You put on football, whatever time of day it is.
It is great, yeah.
And you fall asleep on your couch.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened to me.
The Skip and Josh podcast is on now.
Hello.
Skippy,
What's up?
this is very, very early to be recording or to be doing anything at all, actually.
Yeah. If we're anything, we are committed. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're like professional, I don't know, radio show hosts now. We're up at 6 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Who does that?
Well, apparently we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, we have an audience that craves our information, and this was the only time we could record. You know, we wanted to wait till all the games were done. Couldn't record Monday night. Can't record Tuesday night. So what's left? Tuesday morning before work.
Right. Exactly. We know we want to do like our NFL recap every week, so we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of teams that are 0-2 now, of course.
Yeah. There are. Yeah.
Yeah. So of all the 0-2 teams, which team is in the most trouble?
Well, the most trouble? I mean, like, it's a difficult question because there's teams like the Browns and the Jets who are like they're 0-2.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wouldn't say they're in trouble because no one thought those teams would win a game at all. Right?
All right. So let me rephrase the question then.
Yeah.
Which team that you thought was actually good, that going to do well,
Yeah.
that's 0-2?
Yeah,
that's in
okay.
trouble?
So I mean, it's funny because you said you had something to ask me before we started recording, and you said you want me to tell you what I'm going to ask you, and I said no, let's keep it a surprise.
Okay.
So, but actually, I had a whole bunch of notes about things that I wanted to talk about, and this question ties into that a little bit.
Okay.
So.
I think it's really, I can give you multiple choice because there's three teams that people thought would have a decent season at least.
Yeah.
That are 0-2. And so of the three teams, which is in the most trouble, and I'll tell you which three teams they are.
Okay.
The Cincinnati Bengals, I don't
Yeah.
think anyone expected them to start 0-2.
Right.
The Colts, I'm not sure if anyone expected that if Andrew Luck was healthy, definitely not.
Okay.
And then the third and final team is the Giants.
No, but then I have two others.
Okay. Go ahead.
The Saints and the Chargers.
Well, did anyone expect anything from the Chargers?
Well, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought, I mean, and the thing is, they've been competitive. I mean, they've lost both games by a grand total of like, what?
6 points?
Exactly. 5 points, maybe. So, you know, they had the game-tying field goal blocked in week 1, and then they had the game-winning field goal missed in week 2. So, I mean, they've been in position to win both games. They just couldn't get over the hump, so to speak. And it's funny because that was exactly the Chargers of last year. They lost all these close games at the beginning of the year, and then by the time they started to figure things out and get on a little bit of roll, it was too late. And I think they're going to be in the same situation again because the AFC West
is the best division in the league.
Yeah, the other three teams in the division are all 2-0.
Yeah, and they're all good, actually. They're not like a mirage, those 2-0 teams.
Exactly. You know, the Raiders are for real. Everybody loved them coming into the season. The Chiefs seem to be like one of the most dangerous teams in the league. And the Broncos, while, you know, no one was sold on their quarterback, they dismantled the Cowboys. You know, like if the
I had that, by the way.
I know. Well, you had most of the games.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Yeah.
your picks again were like, you know, you got 10 right this week.
One day I should put some money on these games.
Yeah, you should. So, I mean, the Broncos, I mean, I'm not sold on their offense or anything, but I mean, it's an elite defense, you know, they're not going to be bad, you know?
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I hear what you're saying about the Chargers. Actually, I really do like I really do like Phillip Rivers. Actually, I've liked him for many years. He's actually a good quarterback. I think he's had some bad luck and he's played on some bad teams, some bad Charger teams.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying about them. They did lose two close games, and they could easily be 2-0 instead of 0-2.
But the other thing is about the Chargers is, and it's also the Rams.
Yeah.
No one's going to see those games.
Oh yeah, there's those two, and there were a few other games that I was watching. I just caught glimpses, and there were tons of empty seats.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a second. Let me finish
Okay.
your thought. Let me finish your question about the 0-2 teams.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Colts. I mean, the Colts are garbage. If Luck doesn't play, they might be winless. And
Yeah,
Chuck
you're right.
Chuck Pagano, even if Luck comes back, I mean, he's the first coach to be fired. There's as far as I'm concerned.
Well, he doesn't even know the name of his opponents.
Yeah, the Bengals. I don't think people thought they were going to be great, but
No.
0-2. I mean, they still have a chance to get back into it. But I mean, Andy Dalton's just looks horrible, and I think it's finally time that their coach is going to get fired. Like he's been there forever, and they've only ever won one playoff game in like the 12 years or whatever he's been the coach. So
Right, and about the Bengals, both those losses have been at home.
yeah,
So and
Even
they haven't scored a
worse.
touchdown, I don't think, in at all this year.
right, at all. Yeah, there's a few teams that are like, well, that are not. I don't know about not having scored a touchdown, but there's some very low scoring teams.
Right, and so they fired the offensive coordinator. So the next move, the only other moves they could make are to fire the head coach or bench the starting QB.
Well, I mean,
And both those things have been rumored.
yeah, well, when Dalton was injured last year, they brought in AJ McCarron and he looked great. So, like, to me, it's like right away, you definitely should change the starting QB. But, that's the Bengals. He kind of marches to the beat of his own drum,
Right.
their head coach.
Yeah.
And then what was the third team that you mentioned?
The Giants.
The Giants. Oh, well.
I know some people thought they were going to win that division. I never said that, but I've heard other people say that.
Well, look, I think the division is going to be, 9-7 could win the division.
Yeah.
Or 10-6.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the game last night because I don't like the Giants and I wanted them to lose, so I was rooting for the Lions, and they look pathetic.
Even with Odell Beckham.
Yeah, even with Odell Beckham and Brandon Marshall. John Gruden had a great line about Brandon Marshall last night because he basically had no catches, or if he did, I mean, it was in garbage time. Like he's not doing anything. He said like they show Brandon Marshall and he's like, well, it's like the third quarter and he has no catches. And they're like, well, Brandon Marshall has been under witness protection so far. so like it is so true, right? It's like he's not even there. And then Odell, I mean, he's playing his first game, but like the thing is they have no running game. So teams aren't game planning the running game, and then they're game planning against the passing. So Odell's gonna get all the attention, and the other receivers have to step up. And if Marshall is your second receiver and he is useless as he looks, then you're finished. Their defense is good, but it's hard to play defense in the National Football League now, right? It's not easy to play, like, to hold your opponent to under 20, and the Lions did what they had to last night. Matthew Stafford is clearly a better quarterback than Eli Manning, I mean, at this point. And the Lions kind of won easily. It was a bit of a shock, There was a great punt return. I don't remember the guy's name. There was a super punt return last night for a touchdown, which doesn't help the Giants' cause, So to me, I mean, do I think they're a bad team? No, I think they still have a good defense. Can they still get back into the NFC East? Yes, because right now the it's like three teams are at 1-1 and they're 0-2. So I mean, anything could happen, right? Then the divisional games, but I don't think they're a good team. No, they're not a good team.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want another question?
Sure, I love it. It's great.
What was the most surprising result from week 2 to you?
I guess for me the most surprising result. Well, there's kind of two. I mean, how easily the Falcons beat the Packers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Actually, I was stunned. I had the Packers winning that game.
I know, but the Falcons are good at home, so
That's fine, but they've never played in that stadium, so it's not really home.
It was their first. By the way, I mean, I don't know. You probably only saw the highlights.
Oh no, I actually saw that game.
The stadium looks great on television.
That stadium and the Vikings' new stadium look phenomenal on television.
Normally I don't like the look of the artificial surface when you see it on TV. And it obviously, it still looked like artificial surface. You can look at it and see what it is. But it looked really good on television. It was the way it was lit. It was very, very bright for TV. So, I mean, maybe they are designing these stadiums with that in mind now. So I'm not sure, but it certainly looked great. But, I mean, back to what you said. I mean, the Falcons seem to be on a major role. Neither of us liked the Falcons coming in. Not that we thought they were going to be a bad team, but...
I said they wouldn't make the playoffs, so I'm stunned that they're 2-0.
It's hard to say. Look, they beat the Packers. I mean, the Packers, by anybody's estimation, are a good team. The Falcons' defense is underrated. I think everyone looks and says, oh, yeah, they were just an offensive team. They're going to outscore their opponent. Yeah, it's true. But I think their defense it's really good. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a lot of trouble. And then the other surprising game is how easily the Broncos beat the Cowboys.
So that didn't surprise me at all, actually. I saw, I'm picking the games, and then I'm in another pool, well, actually ours, where we pick against the spread.
Yeah.
And the Broncos were actually underdogs at home. And I said to myself, the Broncos are underdogs at home? That doesn't make much sense.
Right.
And I said, I'm picking them for sure. You're going to give me points. Even if you weren't giving me points, I would have taken them. And sure enough, I don't think the Cowboys are as good as everyone thinks they are.
Well, I mean, look,
I said this before the game. It's easy to say this now.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, considering that they were a good team last year. I hate the Cowboys. I've said this many times, and I can't stand them. I want them to lose every game. But I mean, Ezekiel Elliott had less than 10 yards.
Yeah, he didn't look into it either.
Yeah, no, he didn't look in. Well, I mean, there was an interception, and he didn't even bother to try to, try to tackle the guy running the other way. He kind of just watched him go by.
And I know there was an hour-long delay in that game.
There was.
But both teams had the delay, so I'm not. That's not an excuse for the Cowboys.
No, if anything, the Cowboys had a chance. They were losing at the time, not by much.
So if anything, that would have helped them.
If anything, yeah. I mean, if I'm a Cowboys fan, what's scary about that game is that all last season everybody was saying the defense isn't that good, and Dak Prescott isn't that good. The only thing keeping them afloat is Elliott. And, when push comes to shove, if Dak Prescott has to, get a drive or win a game, he's not going to do it. And he defied everybody last year by stepping up the play at quarterback and being able to make all the plays, even when they were, defenses were kind of saying, we're going to just shut down Elliott and see what Prescott can do. He kind of defied all the haters last year. But I mean, what's scary for the Cowboys is that the Broncos may have showed the rest of the league, how to beat the Cowboys now, right? So I don't know what they did to shut down Elliott specifically, but I mean, and not every defense is as good as the Broncos, right? So, but I mean, Prescott was exposed; like he couldn't do anything.
Here's the thing. In any sport, your first time around, you've got the advantage against everybody because no one's really seen you. And I get that all the coaches watch video and all that stuff. But now Elliott and Prescott are in their second year.
Yeah.
So teams know more about them.
That's right.
And they're going to have bad games. Yeah, they both had great seasons last year. They both could have won Rookie of the Year last year. But they're going to have bad games. So this is just the first of those bad games.
A friend of mine, we were watching a game at a friend's house, and he pointed out that... he's like, that's probably the worst game Elliott's ever had in his life.
Right. But I mean, that happens.
Right?
A higher level you play. Obviously, he's probably the best player when he was like high school and whatever.
It's probably the only game he's ever had that's been like that. He's never had a game where he's rushed for 9 yards.
But even Hall of Famers have bad games.
Yeah, no, of course. But I mean, yeah, you're right. But like I said, like if I'm a Cowboys fan, it's like kind of like all your fears are kind of coming true, So
the other side of the coin now, of the teams that are 2-0.
Yeah.
Which one's for real? Which one?
Well, I mean, we mentioned the Raiders and the Chiefs and the Broncos. I mean, for real, like, is a real Super Bowl contender? Clearly the Raiders. I mean, I'm not a fan of Marshawn Lynch, but he's kind of transformed their team a little bit in that he's giving them this attitude, and like when I say attitude, I mean it in a positive way.
Right.
You know, he's
like
really
the Raiders
giving them
of old.
Yeah, like a swagger and a confidence. You know, like so. I mean, the Raiders certainly look for real. The Falcons. I mean, I know we talked about them, but I mean, I guess you can't overlook the Falcons. I mean, the way they've played so far, you know, and I mean, and then 1-1 the Patriots.
Yeah, well, I was going to get to the Patriots. So all those people who thought that the Patriots were done and Brady was old and finished and washed up, you knew that the Patriots, after a loss, you knew they were angry. You knew they were going to come back and destroy whoever they happened to be playing.
I'm back in business, baby!
Even though they had to go on the road, New Orleans is not a good team.
They're not. They're
other than Drew Brees, that's it.
Yeah, they have no defense. It's the same Saints as last year, honestly.
Yeah. So you knew the Patriots were going to come back and destroy them just because they were so angry about what happened in Week 1, and sure enough, they did.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing, like, on Sunday morning in the pregame shows. I don't know which one it was, if it was on the NFL Network or Fox, but, like, one of the guys was saying, like, he thinks that that Tom Brady is finally on the decline, and this is the year that Tom Brady's finally going to, like, show his age. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Like, well, he is on the decline. That part is true because, I mean, you're 40. Is he 40 now?
39 or 40?
Okay. So he's on the decline. Like, he's not going to have as good a season as he had last year. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he's bad.
Exactly. I mean, he's still only like 2 games ago he won the Super Bowl.
Right.
You know, like, right? I mean,
he had a little bit of help 2 years in that.
Of course. Game. I mean, I know, but I mean, he's still like you said, he's not bad. Like,
no,
all of a sudden he's going to be bad?
But I mean, all of a sudden he will be bad one day. Like, it could happen in Week 10 this year. It could happen in Week 1 next year. Who knows? Yeah. But he will be bad all of a sudden.
The difference is that Tom Brady in his prime was able to win games on his own, regardless of who his receivers and who his running backs are.
Right.
And now he needs a better surrounding cast, and he's got it. You know, it's Brandon Cooks. They have a whole bunch of running backs, and
although now they're decimated with injuries once again.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, one thing I noticed, I didn't watch much football again this weekend.
Oh my God.
In every single game, there were a ton of injuries.
Injuries everywhere.
You could have a pool, forget about points or stats or whatever, just how many injuries will there be in this game?
That's so true.
Over under 5 for every game.
Well, it tests the depth of the teams. I mean, it's a lot of the offensive line are getting injured, defensive line, you know, like not necessarily like guys that you've even heard of, you know, but like that really tests the depth of teams. I mean, look, when we're talking about the Patriots, Gronkowski, I mean, it's almost expected that he's going to get injured. Like, when I see Gronkowski getting injured, I'm like, ho hum, you know, that. I mean, like at this point, I don't know how old Gronkowski is. He's under 30, right? He's like
28. Yeah, he's not that old, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, like, he has the body, you know, he's ready to retire already, this guy. You know, in terms of his body.
Hi there. Skip and Josh will be right back. To get in touch with them, you can send them an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. You can follow them on Twitter @skipandjosh, and you can visit their website at www.skipandjosh.com. And now, back to the show.
So, I wanted to go back to something that we just started to go off on a tangent on, and that was the attendance.
Okay.
So, the games in Los Angeles are empty.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is the stadiums that they play in are old, and, you know, who really wants to go to those stadiums? But you're right, they are empty.
I know, but considering they went from no teams to all of a sudden having teams, you know, like this, the stadium shouldn't matter. You know, is the appetite for the NFL there? I mean,
well, here's my question: when USC plays, do they not sell out?
Yeah, well, USC, like I think they sell out all the time, and they do play at the same stadium as where the Rams are playing now, right? At the Coliseum.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with the stadium then. It's
no.
just I guess people prefer college football to pro football.
Well, college football has a different kind of fan base. They're diehards no matter what. And I know you don't listen to Bill Simmons, but I mean he's he's a Boston guy, but he's been living in LA for more than 10 years. I think closer to 12 maybe. And so he says he kind of talks about himself as the typical Los Angeles sports fan in that he's a transplant from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like his theory is that like the NFL's been away for so long that there's no fans, right? Everybody's a fan of someone else, right?
Right.
All the NFL fans in LA have a team. They all have a team already,
and it's
right?
somebody else. It's not the LA teams.
No, so
when there were LA teams.
Yeah, so his theory is it's going to take a while for these teams to get their fan base, and it's going to take the teams are going to need to win, for people to kind of jump on the bandwagon. So we'll see, but it's kind of ugly, when you see the attendance there.
The other thing I noticed, I mean, I didn't really notice this. I've known this for many years, and I haven't said it on this show, I don't think, but watching football, the only reason to watch football is if you've bet on games.
Well, didn't I tell you this? The product is no good. Like, when they talk about the ratings being down and they came up with a million excuses last year, Trump and the presidential race, it was taking attention away, or people say it's the violence in the sport, or people, there's a million and one reasons that they came up with about why viewership is down. Mm-hmm. And it's because the product on the field is not that good.
But when you have money on the game, you'll watch like a Cleveland versus New York Jets game because you have money on it.
Well, I mean, my fantasy football team is kind of what keeps me in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Part of it. I mean, the other part of it is that we become like a big Eagles household. So and the Eagles have been on, both weeks we've caught them on TV, and we will again in week 3. Mm-hmm. So that's like kind of like appointment television for me and Matthew. Like, we know, okay, we got to watch the Eagles, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, I think it's okay. It's kind of, the NFL has like become a habitual thing. It's like, okay, Sunday afternoon, football's on. You turn it on, you watch it. But when I was prepping my notes about what to talk about before we started recording this show today, I was like, okay, what were the really good games this week to talk about? And I was like, no. There are none.
There wasn't even one.
No, I mean, I'm like, okay, Cowboys Broncos. It wasn't a good game, but it's something to talk about because the high profile of the teams. But
you didn't like the Carolina Buffalo game, 9-3 final score.
Yeah, and how about that barn burner, the 49ers Seahawks, 12-9.
Yeah, or Houston Cincinnati 13-9.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's no touchdowns in these games. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
So nuts.
I mean, we're going to have games like that. Next week we're going to have games like that again. First of all, anytime the 49ers are playing, it's going to be low scoring. Same thing with look, we've been talking about this since last year. The Thursday night game is a joke.
Although, you're right, it is. Although, from what I understand, every single team in the league must play at least one Thursday game.
So you figure by osmosis,
there should be some good games.
Yeah, so we're going to have the 49ers Rams this week.
Oh.
So, I don't think anybody will be watching that. And, again, you have another great Sunday matchup, the Browns Colts. So at least someone's going to get a win, or actually if any game will end in a tie, it'll be that one, right? just to keep like the Browns from winning. By the way, I've got the tally right here, the official tally
of
number of losses in the month of September. Cleveland Browns 2, Cleveland Indians 2.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see if the Browns could get a win. That'll be huge.
There's a lot of time left in this month.
Yeah, there is.
For the Browns to lose more games.
Well, there's only probably 2 more games this month for them, right?
That's true. That's true.
So the Indians need to keep winning.
Yeah.
And again, there's, I don't know, every week you have these ugly games, but I don't know what's the marquee matchup of week 3. I'm looking at it right now, and I was like, I'm not. There's not really any games that are like, oh, that's a good game. There's none. The Giants Eagles, because it's a rivalry and it means something to me, but I mean, division game. But other than that, I mean, there's not.
Tampa Bay, Minnesota could be decent.
It could be decent, like you said. It could be decent, but it's not. It's not blowing your socks off, And then Sunday night game is the Raiders Redskins. Again, it's not great.
Did you mention Atlanta, Detroit? They're both 2-0.
That might be the best game, actually.
Yeah.
That might be the best game. You have any more questions for me?
No.
All right. Do you want to tell everybody how you did in the how our pick'em pool's going?
Yes.
You're killing us.
Right. So update on the pick'em pool.
Yeah.
I'm still in first place overall after 2 weeks with 19 points. Schnerbs is next with 15, and then you and Mark are next with 13. And so
you got 10 correct this week. It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, there was an extra game this week, so that's why I was able to get one extra correct.
You still have to get it right.
I know.
Check out the Skip and Josh Sports Show on Twitter. You know that little app with the little blue Tweety bird? Yeah, you can follow them there at Skip and Josh.
Okay, so I just want to update the listeners. I played you again in fantasy baseball. I know this is a football episode. I played you again in fantasy baseball last week.
Oh yeah.
This is the week after. This is the week after you beat me 6-2. So in our rematch, somehow I beat you 8-2.
Oh well, I mean,
I'm not sure how. Like same teams. 1 week I won. 1 week I lost. I don't get it.
when I have 5 guys on the DL.
I know.
So, I didn't even look at my team.
I
was
know.
gonna go in and change it around and make moves and get guys.
But it would have been funnier if you won without doing that, which you did in week 1.
I would have loved it. So my mission this week is to somehow catch up to you in the pick'em. So I should try to spend more than 3 seconds per game when I'm doing my picks. So that's what I'll try to do.
Actually, no, don't. The more longer you spend, the worse it is. I have to tell you, in week 1, by the way, I'm in 2 different pools. Ours where we have to pick against the spread, and another one where I don't pick against the spread. Mm-hmm. And this is crazy, I know. I picked the exact same teams to win, whether it was against the spread or not. I know that it's completely different.
That doesn't sound good.
Well, it actually kind of worked.
Yeah, I know, but normally I don't think this. I mean, it's funny because my son was asking me, how does it work with the spreads?
It's great. He's learning at a young age.
Because his friend was in the car and like they're talking because his friend's in a pool with like where they have to pick against the spreads. He's doing something with his dad or something. So I was explaining to him he knows how it works. Like he understands if it says you have to win by 4, you have to win by 4. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I said the idea with the spreads is that like the Vegas makes money no matter what happens. That's the point of the spread, right? It's the great equalizer. Mm-hmm. So. I mean, the fact that you picked 19 games right in 2 weeks with the spread is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
How did your fantasy team do?
Won again, actually. I picked up, so my quarterback's Andy Dalton. I cut him.
Yeah.
And I picked up 2 other quarterbacks out of the pile. Mm-hmm. I picked up Sam Bradford, who, of course, didn't play.
Right.
And my other quarterback was Trevor Siemian, who had an insane game.
Great game! Oh my God!
Yeah,
4
touchdowns. I don't think he'll ever have as good a fantasy game ever again in his life.
Well, you should keep doing the same thing. You got to play the
matchups.
You got to stream.
So I won. I mean, I won by 7 points against my opponent. So obviously, Simeon's game it mattered. I didn't use Odell Beckham because I didn't know if he was going to play.
Right.
But I won anyway, so it's good.
Is Alex Smith available?
No, Alex Smith was. I tried to get him last week. He was in the pile, but he's not anymore.
Not anymore.
I couldn't get him.
Yeah, he's off to a crazy start.
I couldn't get him.
So I won again. I'm 2-0.
Okay.
And my team's looking great. I've got I got 90 points this week, which is one of the higher scores. And
have you played against your son yet?
No, but that's gonna come maybe next week or the week after.
Okay.
I don't know. It's my right now. My MVP is Kareem Hunt, the guy in the running back on the Chiefs, who I didn't even know who he was. Until I drafted him. So that tells you all you need to know about fantasy football.
Did your son take all Eagles players on his team?
No, but he's got a heavy Eagles. It was hard in that pool, in that fantasy draft. We couldn't because it was a very Philadelphia.
Oh right, everyone in there.
All the other people are in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So it was hard to get certain guys, but I mean, I think he has a few. I know in his other, he's in 2 leagues. He's in 2 leagues. So I know in his other league, which is his more important one with his friends, he has a lot of Eagles. So.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So what's our next episode?
Well, we're going to do another NFL episode a week from today.
Right. Okay. And then soon we're going to have our NHL preview.
Yeah, well, the hockey season started yesterday, I guess, or 2 days ago. There's some preseason games.
Oh my God!
which I
preseason
which I
last night.
can't be bothered to watch.
No, they were talking about it on the radio station here yesterday, saying like, "What are you going to look for in preseason? Tell us what you're going to look for in preseason." I'm like, "I'll tell you what I'm going to look for in preseason. Nothing. I'm not watching it." I mean, come on, you know.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, look, I turned it on yesterday just because I knew it was on. It was on my TV for about 30 seconds, and my wife walked by, and she's like, "Hockey's on! Oh my God, hockey's on!" She got nervous, you know, because once hockey starts, you know, it's on all the time. So we'll soon do our NHL preview. So I think once we start doing that, we're gonna try to do 2 episodes a week, right? More or less an NFL recap, and then start getting into hockey usually once a week. Yeah, and then we're gonna have to try to squeeze in the baseball playoffs at a certain point too.
That's gonna be insane because it's every night, and the games are gonna end at like midnight.
It's every night.
Well, there's baseball playoffs every night, and the games end late.
I know. It's amazing that we're getting close to the 1-year anniversary of our show.
Yes, it is.
Because when we first started recording was the World Series, you know, so...
You know, when like radio shows and other shows get to their 1-year anniversary, they have like a party. Should we have a party and invite all our fans?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Why not? Where are we going to do that? At your house, your place?
Well, we probably need a big venue for all the fans.
Well, I'm going to be in Toronto on Halloween, which will be close to the 1-year anniversary. It'll be like a week away.
I'll see if I can rent the Rogers Center.
Okay.
Because the Jays won't be playing.
No, they certainly won't. And even if they are, we can just buy a section of empty seats and do it there.
Yeah.
I saw a picture where it looked like the Rogers Center was completely empty.
Actually, I was at a game last week. This is completely off topic. A friend of mine took me to the game.
Right, you were sitting in the front row.
Literally, I've never sat that close. And I have to tell you, I've been to a lot of baseball games. It's a completely different perspective when you're that close because every time the ball hits the bat, whether it's a foul ball or whatever.
Head.
No, it's not even that. The sound. It's so loud. It sounds so great. Even if it's like a routine ground out to the shortstop, it still sounds good.
That's cool.
And then where the way the seats were situated, we were in the TD comfort zone. So it's actually closer to the field than the dugout, if you can imagine.
How did you score these tickets?
A friend of mine, his boss gave him tickets, whatever. And so I'm looking into the Baltimore Orioles dugout the entire game. I could have I had a conversation with Buck Showalter, and I have to tell you that I don't know if it's because Baltimore's out of it or what the story is, but they were very quiet. It seemed like no one was talking to each other in the dugout. Now, I don't know if that happens in every dugout, but
it might be. I mean, also, who knows? There's probably a bunch of call-ups and rookies there who maybe they don't want to say anything. You know, it's like they don't even know the other guys, right?
So I have Trey Mancini on my fantasy team, and like I said, we were right next to the on-deck circle. I could have talked to any of those guys. When Trey Mancini was on deck, I said, "Trey, I got you on my fantasy team. You're having a great year."
Did he acknowledge you?
No, zero, nothing.
Good players that are properly trained will never answer you or even acknowledge you, no matter how close you are or how loud you are.
Well, he's a rookie, so I figured, if anyone's going to answer, it's going to be a rookie, right?
Yeah. I know I've had my share of you scream at guys or you say something to them, and it's like they don't even want to know you're there. So before we sign off, remember you can listen and subscribe to new and archived episodes of the Skip and Josh podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or for example, I use Overcast. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. We would love to hear from you via email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com, via Twitter, @skipandjosh, or by liking and following our Facebook page. And as always, you can get all the links that I just mentioned on our website at skipandjosh.com.
Beautiful. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Gab.
The Skip and Josh podcast is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.